And now back to one of our leading stories of today. French President Emmanuel Macron's visit to Gdańsk, northern Poland. It was all about the European security, including cooperation involving France's nuclear capabilities as geopolitical instability grows at unprecedented speed. To dissect this meeting and what comes next, Andrzej Byrt, former Polish ambassador to Germany and France, joins me on the show. Ambassador, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you.
Good evening.
So, the Polish Prime Minister and the French President met in Gdańsk. What do you consider to be the most important takeaways from today?
Security in all the measures which should be taken in order to guarantee that European Union, but also Poland as a member at the border of the present conflict, which means after Russian aggression on Ukraine, we are the next country to be possible target for Russian military missiles. So Poland was interested to join the forces with the other top European nations to formulate and then also try to imagine in what way the European Union could increase its security in such a dramatic situation. The initiative was taken earlier by France's President Macron, and who visited today Poland, in particular Gdańsk, where he met with the Polish government led by Prime Minister Donald Tusk, himself being a citizen of the city. So the top discussion points were two of them. First, the French proposal to install kind of a new nuclear deterrence in case of the military risks coming from Russia. And second point, also connected with, to a certain extent, with security and also an energy sovereignty of Poland, which was nuclear power plants, which Poland intends to build in the years to come. And one of them could be of interest for France. France, we have to remember, is the country in the European Union which generates two-thirds of its energy exactly from nuclear power plants and disposes of a great and comprehensive experiences in this field. And therefore, this technology could be made available when Poland decides next year to take a decision who will be our partner during the construction of the second Poland's nuclear power plants. The first plants will be built together with American Westinghouse. So these two subjects, both connected with security and with stable political situation in Europe, were top subjects of today's meeting in Gdańsk.
And what do you think is a possibility of Poland joining France's nuclear umbrella? That's been a subject of discussion for quite some time now, but we finally have that meeting taking place in Gdańsk. What do you think?
Well, it's still not decided. France has made such a proposal addressed to 8 top European countries, among them also Poland. Poland has precisely said, yes, we are interested to take part in it. And then after this political approval, specialists will take floor and start to discuss details. The great majority of them probably will be secret, which is absolutely comprehensible. But the major thing is that the decision power will remain in the hands of the French president. But now, as I said, close to the border of today's conflict, will play a very important role, because such a system, in whatever way it functions, it has to have an airborne control, which will be composed of 2 elements. Number one, it's a radar prospecting of potential military field, and second, in satellite observation of the terrain on which kinetic conflict could take place. And therefore, the geolocation of Poland is of such a big importance for the entire deterrent system of the European Union, if it's going to be, at the very end, discussed and accepted and then also implemented.
France is one of the major arms producers in Europe. Is there a chance that Poland could be actually considering buying more military equipment from France instead of other providers such as the US, for example?
Well, as always, we'll be taking part in different procedures which are necessary and should be observed during the preparatory phases of possible sales or purchases of military equipment. France has got quite a number of products which are of interest to Poland. For instance, the largest European military and also air company, Airbus, which is a joint venture between French manufacturers, British manufacturers, and Spanish. They are manufacturing air tankers, and Poland would like to buy 2 of them at the first stage of such a purchase, and then 2 other new, and therefore, since the product is being assembled, but also in a big part produced in Toulouse, in France, that's one of the things which could be offered to us by France if, they say, the price will turn out to be interesting. I do hope that it will be, because also what is of importance, Airbus earlier have already proposed Poland's participation in this company, and Airbus is also present in Poland, among others, recently during a big air show in Le Bourget in Paris. Polish Airlines bought a few months ago quite a number of new Airbus planes for our civil aviation lines, and therefore the contacts between Polish companies and Airbus France are very strong and last for quite a long time. Another thing is the nuclear missiles. France has developed a special type of them, which is being used as of today mostly on different naval ships of France, and these rockets, missiles, could be used for the defense of Polish Baltic coast, as well as possibly installed on the Polish new submarines bought from Sweden. Such a deal is possible, both from the point of view of financial conditions or financial framework of this contract, but also technologically speaking, they can be installed and therefore give us important new measures to control the movement of Russian ships crisscrossing Baltic Sea, and in very many cases, ships trying to not respect the sea laws, which should be respected under the potential threat of a sea catastrophe.
Just before we go, I wanted to bring a quote from Prime Minister Donald Tusk, who during the press briefing today with French President said, quote, "We also are committed to transatlantic relations and keeping them at a good level, but neither of us are under the illusion that the world remains unchanged, because the world is changing and Europe needs maximum solidarity in these difficult times, whether it comes to Ukraine, supporting our eastern flank, or collaborating with the new technologies." This quote, does this show that the U.S. is actually no longer to be relied upon in terms of providing security for Europe? How do you read into these words?
No, I would say no. NATO is NATO, and nobody has stepped out because of words which have been said by new American President Donald Trump, although himself he was simultaneously several times repeated. He had repeated threats that the United States could envisage leaving or stepping out of NATO. So far, these are words, but nonetheless, they are not empty words. Since they have been officially pronounced, then the Europeans have to take this into account and start to thinking in what way, if such a situation materializes, what European countries can do in order to protect themselves against the potential aggressor, which today is Russia. And therefore, so many new initiatives which have been born in the European Union, among them also the one which at the very beginning was invented by Polish government, and namely the special fund under the abbreviation SAFE, which was meant to provide the financial support for the realization of new defense measures, also of this nuclear deterrence. It's one of the points proposed by the French government. But beside of that, there's a necessity to strengthen the possibilities of European manufacturers to produce enough equipment and enough also munition, without which the real war, kinetic confrontation could not be successful for the defenders of Europe, which among them was Poland at the very verge of this defense. Poland will be, as often in the past, it was treated as such, will be the place where, if such an aggression could be started by Russians, they could go probably through Belarus, and therefore the first battlefield would be Poland.
Ambassador, I'm afraid we will have to put a full stop there. Thank you so much for joining me on World News Tonight. Andrzej Byrt, former Polish ambassador to Germany and France, was my guest. Thank you once again.
Thank you as well.
And so this would be all for now. Thank you for joining. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska, but I hope to see you back here on TVP World for more news and features in just a moment. But until then, have a good night.